I was 8 when I became something else. Not quite dead, not entirely alive. I had slipped into the space between, rising from the shallow grave my stepfather had dug for me in the dense woods behind our home. The soil was still damp, clinging to me as I pulled myself free. I remember the moment of my murder with vivid clarity, the moment when darkness enveloped me. I had sensed it was coming, like a storm rolling in on a summer day, heavy and oppressive. He had loomed over me for years, a dark cloud of malice, and I knew his gaze like I knew the back of my own hand. It was the way he never called me by name, the way he let his anger simmer just beneath the surface, ready to boil over. That day, my mother was out. I had been alone with him before, but I always found a way to avoid him. But that day, as I rummaged through the fridge for something, anything, I could eat, he cornered me. The last thing I remembered was his cold eyes narrowing as he lunged forward. Pain exploded in my chest, a searing agony that stole my breath. I screamed, the sound echoing in the hollow kitchen, mingling with the sickening metallic taste of my own blood. Then darkness enveloped me, and my last thought was a chilling acceptance. I am dead now. When I opened my eyes again, the world was different. I was aware of a lightness, an ethereal quality. I had become a ghost, floating above my grave, staring down at the remnants of my life. In a strange twist of fate, I felt a rush of relief. Now he can't hurt me anymore, I thought, a bitter smile ghosting my lips. But where to go? I drifted back to the house. It had been my home once. It still felt familiar, even if it was now a place where shadows lingered. I didn't want to be seen, so I slipped into the basement, a dark, cold space that echoed my new existence. I tucked myself away, a hidden specter waiting for the life to move on without me. As time flowed by, I became more invisible, more intangible. I haunted the quiet halls, skirting the edges of light. At night, I would wander, drawn to the kitchen, to the faded echoes of family dinners that never happened again. Then came the night that changed everything. I crept into their bedroom, drawn by the warmth of the sleeping figures. My mother lay beside her new husband, and I was filled with a mix of anger and sorrow as I stared at their peaceful faces. My heart, if I still had one, twisted painfully as I stood at the foot of their bed, unseen yet desperately wishing to be acknowledged. Suddenly, my mother jerked awake, her gaze locking onto me. She screamed, a raw, visceral sound that shattered the silence of the night. I fled back to my basement hideout, the memory of her terror etched into my ghostly mind. They left soon after, and other families trickled in, but none stayed long. The house was cursed, and I was the shadow that haunted it. Years slipped away, each one a faded echo. I became a whisper of memory, my ghostly existence intertwined with the old floorboards and damp walls. Time lost meaning in my desolation. Then came Lily. She was a fragile girl, often ill and confined to her room. I heard the hushed whispers of her parents and the doctor. She might not live much longer. I found myself drawn to her, intrigued by her spirit that seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. Maybe she would join me, a companion in my endless twilight, and together we could haunt the shadows of this forsaken house. On a moonless night, I decided to visit her. I drifted up the stairs, the familiar creak of the wood beneath me resonating like a heartbeat. I paused at her door, hesitating as my ghostly fingers brushed the doorknob. It turned easily, and I slipped inside, my heart racing with anticipation. Lily stirred in her bed, her pale face illuminated by the faint glow of the night light. She sat up, her eyes wide but not fearful. Instead, she stared at me with a mix of curiosity and recognition. "You're the boy," she said, her voice soft and clear. "The one who haunts this house." I was taken aback. No one had acknowledged me in years. "Yes," I replied, the word feeling strange yet familiar. "I am Daniel, a ghost." The years of silence cracked open my voice, and I felt a rush of emotions. Lily rose from her bed, her frail figure somehow grounding me. "But you're not a ghost, Daniel. You're alive." Confusion washed over me. I looked into the mirror on her wall, and the reflection staring back was not the child I remembered, but a lanky young man, pale and spectral. My memories rushed back, scrabbling through the earth, clawing my way out of my grave, in the cool night air on my skin. "You were buried," she said, her eyes searching mine. "But you're here now. You're alive." As the truth settled in, I felt the warmth on my cheeks. Tears streamed down as I realized I was not dead. I was merely lost, trapped between life and death, held captive by my own fears and the pain of my past. From that night on, everything changed. Lily and I began to talk, sharing our stories in whispers that floated through the dim room. I learned about her struggles, her battles with illness, and how she felt like a ghost in her own life. I shared my history, the trauma that had bound me to the house, and the horror of my stepfather's cruelty. With each conversation, a bond formed between us, a connection that transcended life and death. I discovered that she could see me, truly see me, not as a haunting specter, but as a boy who had suffered and yearned for understanding. As our friendship deepened, I felt the pull of my past growing stronger. I began to remember more, fragments of memories that had been buried with my physical body. I recalled the way my stepfather had looked at me, the anger radiating from him like heat from a furnace. I remembered the exact moment when he had taken everything from me and the flash of pain that had consumed me. One night, I decided to confront that pain. "Let's go to the woods," I said, my voice trembling. "I need to face it." Lily nodded, her expression resolute. Together, we slipped out of her room, the cool air brushing against our faces as we made our way through the house and out into the night. The woods loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, branches twisting like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. As we entered, the memories flooded back with a vengeance, the familiar smell of damp earth, the way the moonlight filtered through the leaves, and the echoes of my own screams. We found the spot where my grave had been, the earth now long settled, but I could still feel the energy of that night pulsing beneath my feet. I looked at Lily, and her face was filled with determination. "This is where it happened," I whispered, feeling a chill run down my spine. "This is where I died." "You have to let it go," she urged, stepping closer. "You can't let it control you anymore." I closed my eyes, summoning the courage to confront my fear. I focused on the darkness that had consumed me, the anger and pain that had lingered for years. In that moment, I realized I had the power to reclaim my life. As I opened my eyes, I felt a surge of energy, a warmth filling me from within. The memories began to shift, twisting into something else, a release, a liberation from the chains of my past. I could almost see the darkness receding, leaving space for light to seep in. I turned to Lily, my heart racing. "I'm ready." With those words, I felt the last remnants of my ghostly existence unravel. I was no longer bound by the grave or the horrors that had haunted me. I was free. In the weeks that followed, Lily and I grew inseparable. I experienced the world anew through her eyes, filled with wonder and light. She taught me to embrace life, to cherish each moment, and to face the shadows that had once threatened to consume me. We spent countless hours exploring the woods, laughing and creating memories that would never fade. The haunting echoes of the past were replaced by the warmth of friendship, and I learned to let go of the anger and sorrow that had defined my existence. Lily's health improved as well. The light that had once flickered in her eyes grew stronger, brighter, and I could feel her spirit flourishing. She was no longer the fragile girl I had met, but a beacon of resilience and hope. But deep down, I knew I had to confront my past one last time. On a stormy night, I returned to the house, now a shell of its former self. The walls were crumbling, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. My stepfather was still there, a malevolent presence lurking in the shadows, but this time I was ready. Lily stood beside me, her hand clasped tightly in mine. "We can do this together," she whispered, her voice steady and reassuring. I took a deep breath, pushing open the door and stepping inside. The house felt alive, vibrating with the memories of pain and suffering, but I refused to let it consume me again. My stepfather emerged from the darkness, his eyes filled with hatred and malice. I felt the old fear rise within me, but it was quickly overshadowed by a newfound strength. "You can't hurt me anymore," I declared, my voice echoing through the empty halls. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm not a ghost. I'm alive." In that moment, I felt the energy of the house shift, the oppressive weight of the past lifting. My stepfather's expression twisted into confusion, and I knew he could feel the power of my resolve. With each word I spoke, I reclaimed a piece of myself. The darkness that had once held me captive began to dissolve, replaced by the light of acceptance and healing. Lily stood beside me, her presence a guiding force, illuminating the way forward. As I confronted my stepfather, I felt the release of years of pain. I understood now that his anger was a reflection of his own demons, a truth that had kept me bound for far too long. "You don't control me anymore," I said, my voice firm and unwavering. "I am free." And with those words, I felt a surge of energy erupt within me. The darkness around me shattered, and in its place, a brilliant light filled the room. I was not just a ghost. I was a boy who had survived, a boy who had found his voice. In the days that followed, I began to rediscover life. With Lily's support, I embraced the world around me. I learned to laugh, to love, and to cherish each moment, and together we created memories that would last a lifetime. We ventured out into the woods, the sunlight filtering through the trees, illuminating our path. I could feel the weight of the past slipping away, replaced by the promise of a new beginning. As I stood beside Lily, I realized that I had become something new, a testament to resilience and hope. I was alive, no longer trapped in the shadows of my past. And as we walked hand in hand, I knew that no darkness could ever hold me captive again. Years passed, and the house stood empty, a relic of the past. But the memories of my journey remained etched in my heart, a reminder of the power of friendship and the strength of the human spirit. I had faced my demons, and in doing so, I had found my way back to life. And as the sun set behind the trees, I looked forward to a future filled with light, love, and endless possibilities.